Once an ordinary businessman living a quiet life, Dae-su is suddenly kidnapped and locked in a tiny room without explanation. 15 years later, he's released just as abruptly, with money, clothes, and a phone, but no answers. Determined to find out who imprisoned him and why, Dae-su plunges into a violent hunt through Seoul's underworld. Yet the closer he gets to the truth, the more he realizes his freedom is part of a far darker, more personal game than he ever imagined. So let's dive straight in. Dae-su is a middle-aged man who gets arrested one night for being drunk and causing trouble in public. It happens to be his daughter's birthday. After his friend Ju Hwan bails him out, Dae-su calls his daughter to tell her to wait for him at home. But before he can get back to her, he suddenly disappears, leaving her gift behind. He wakes up in what looks like a hotel room with no windows. He has no idea who put him there or why. Food is passed to him through a small trapdoor. Every so often, gas fills the room, knocking him out while his captors cut his hair, change his clothes, and clean the room. The only connection he has to the outside world is the television. One day he learns from the news that his wife, Kim Ja-hyun, has been murdered. His blood and fingerprints are at the crime scene, so now he's the prime suspect. Dae-su begins hallucinating. Over the years, he slips further into despair and even tries to kill himself a few times, but each time his captors revive him. To cope, he starts keeping a journal, writing down names of people who might have grudges against him. He also begins training his body by shadowboxing and doing exercises, hoping one day he'll get a chance to fight back. After about 6 years, he starts digging a hole through the wall using just a metal chopstick. Little by little, he removes bricks until he can actually stick his hand out and feel rain for the first time in years. He hides the hole behind his bed, planning to escape, but before he can finish, gas knocks him out again. A woman then comes into his room and hypnotizes him. After 15 years of being locked away, Dae-su wakes up inside a large suitcase, wearing a new suit and watch. He's outdoors at last. The suitcase also contains his old journals. As he adjusts to the sunlight, he notices a man sitting on the edge of the building holding a small dog. The man tells Dae-su not to stop him from jumping. Dae-su takes the man's hand and holds it to his own face, savoring the touch of another human being after so long. The man asks, "Even though I'm no better than a beast, don't I have the right to live?" Dae-su just smiles and repeats the question back. When the man starts to fall backward, Dae-su grabs his necktie and says, "Listen to my story first." Dae-su tells the man about his imprisonment, then he walks away, ignoring the man's attempt to explain why he wants to die. As Dae-su leaves, the man jumps and falls to his death on a car below. Now free, but still wanted for his wife's murder, Dae-su wanders the city, careful not to contact friends or family. On the street, he runs into a group of young men and tests out the fighting skills he's practiced for years. Using only his fists, he beats them up and walks on. Sitting outside a seafood restaurant, a homeless man gives him a cell phone and a wallet full of cash, telling him not to ask any questions because he doesn't know anything. Dae-su checks the wallet, then goes into the restaurant. He asks the server to bring him something alive to eat. He recognizes her from a cooking competition he once saw on TV. The phone rings. A man on the other end asks if Dae-su likes his new suit. Dae-su demands to know who's speaking and why he was imprisoned. The man says his identity doesn't matter and tells Dae-su to think back on his own life to figure it out. He then says, "Find me quickly," and hangs up. The server brings out a live octopus. She asks if she should slice it, but Dae-su just grabs it and starts eating it raw. After finishing, he collapses. When he wakes up, he's in the server's apartment recovering from a fever. She tells him the medicine she gave him worked well. On her way to the bathroom, she warns him the lock is broken and not to follow her because she has a knife. Despite the warning, Dae-su goes in anyway and tries to force himself on her. She hits him on the head with the handle of the knife and stops him. He starts to leave, but she stops him, introduces herself as Mi-do, and says she's interested in being with him, but only when she's ready. Dae-su then focuses on finding his estranged daughter with Mi-do's help. They learn that a Swedish couple adopted her. He decides to stop trying to contact her, and instead hunts for the man who imprisoned him. One day, Mi-do gets an online message from someone using the ID Evergreen, asking about the book The Count of Monte Cristo. When Dae-su checks, Evergreen asks him how he's doing in the bigger prison. Mi-do says she's been chatting with Evergreen for a while about sushi. Dae-su starts to distrust Mi-do because of her connection to Evergreen, so he continues the search on his own. He discovers the restaurant that delivered the food he ate in Captivity. He follows a delivery man back to the building where he was held. Inside, he attacks a guard with a hammer. He finds out the place is actually a private prison run by criminals who lock up people for money. Dae-su tortures the man in charge, Mr. Park, by pulling out his teeth with the hammer's claws. Mr. Park says he never met the client directly, but has a recording of the phone call. Dae-su takes the recording. As he tries to leave, a large group of men block his path. Armed only with his hammer and fists, he fights them off even after being stabbed in the back. Once outside, he pulls out the knife and collapses. A stranger helps him into a taxi, gives the driver an address, and calls Dae-su by name, revealing himself as the person responsible for his captivity. Injured, Dae-su can do nothing but stare as the taxi drives off. Back at Mi-do's apartment, Dae-su listens to the recording from Mr. Park's office. In it, the client and Mr. Park discuss how long to keep Dae-su imprisoned and what drugs to give him if he develops schizophrenia. When Mr. Park asks why the client wants such a long incarceration, the client replies that Dae-su talks too much. The next day, Dae-su visits his friend Ju-hwan and asks if he recognizes the client's voice on the tape. Ju-hwan can identify it but helps Dae-su track down Evergreen online. Dae-su returns to Mi-do's place and starts torturing her, thinking she knows more about Evergreen. While he's doing this, Ju-hwan calls to say he's found Evergreen's real identity. Evergreen's name is Soo D-ah, and he lives in a building just across the street from Mi-do's apartment. Dae-su runs straight to the apartment across the street and meets Evergreen, whose real name is Lee Woo-jin, along with his bodyguard, Mr. Han. Woo-jin tells Dae-su he has 5 days to figure out why he was imprisoned. If Dae-su finds out the truth, Woo-jin will take his own life. If not, he'll kill Mi-do. When Dae-su tries to attack him, Mr. Han stops him easily. Woo-jin explains that hurting him won't help because he's wearing a pacemaker he can shut off himself. If Dae-su tortures him, he'll just press the button and die. Before leaving, Woo-jin suggests that Dae-su should focus on revenge to deal with the loss of his wife and daughter. He also casually mentions that Mi-do is tied up in her apartment with the door wide open. Dae-su rushes back and finds Mr. Park and his men assaulting Mi-do. They hold him down while Mr. Park threatens to pull out his teeth with a hammer. A phone call interrupts them, and Mr. Han soon arrives, offering Mr. Park a briefcase of cash to walk away. Mr. Park takes the money and leaves. Dae-su angrily threatens to cut off Mr. Park's hand for hurting Mi-do. Dae-su and Mi-do quickly leave the apartment. On their way to a motel, Mi-do sings a little song, signaling she's ready to be intimate with him. After they sleep together, sleeping gas fills the room. Woo-jin sneaks in and leaves them a package. When they open it, they find Mr. Park's severed hand. Dae-su realizes Woo-jin is listening to them and goes out to find and destroy the hidden bug. Later, Dae-su and Mi-do visit Ju-hwan's internet cafe to look up information about Evergreen. As Mi-do searches online, Dae-su and Ju-hwan figure out that Evergreen was the name of their old high school class. Dae-su and Mi-do go back to the school and check the 1979 yearbook. There, Dae-su learns Evergreen is actually Lee Woo-jin, a former classmate. He calls Ju-hwan to ask if he remembers Woo-jin, but Ju-hwan says no. Dae-su then asks Ju-hwan about a female student named Soo-ah. Ju-hwan says she died after Dae-su transferred to another school and describes her as promiscuous. What they don't realize is that Woo-jin is in the cafe during this phone call. Angry at how Ju-hwan spoke about his sister, Woo-jin kills him and tells Dae-su over the phone that Soo-ah was his sister. Dae-su tracks down Mr. Park to ask more about his imprisonment. With his hand now gone, Mr. Park is more willing to talk. He admits he drugged Dae-su's water to make him easier to hypnotize. He also agrees to keep Mi-do safe while Dae-su hunts down Woo-jin. Another classmate later tells Dae-su that it was actually Ju-hwan who spread the rumors about Soo-ah. Dae-su then remembers accidentally seeing Woo-jin and Soo-ah in an intimate situation at school. He recalls telling Ju-hwan about it just before he transferred. Using clues Woo-jin left, Dae-su tracks down his old captor's home. He confronts Woo-jin and accuses him of using hypnosis to erase Dae-su's memory of what he saw. Woo-jin says it wasn't hypnosis. Dae-su just forgot because it wasn't his business. He explains that rumors about Soo-ah being pregnant started right after Dae-su left. The gossip became so intense that Soo-ah herself believed it. Woo-jin blames Dae-su for starting it all. Dae-su accuses Woo-jin of killing his own sister to hide their relationship, but Woo-jin dismisses this. Instead, he explains how he orchestrated everything, including Dae-su meeting Mi-do with the help of a hypnotist. Woo-jin shows him a photo album of his wife and child. As Dae-su flips through the pictures, he realizes in horror that Mi-do is actually his grown-up daughter. Furious, Dae-su attacks Woo-jin, but Mr. Han stops him. Dae-su manages to injure Mr. Han, but still loses the fight. Watching this, Woo-jin becomes annoyed and shoots Mr. Han himself. Woojin also reveals that Mr. Park is still working for him. Meanwhile, back at Mr. Park's building, Mido is given a gift box and told to open it. Dae-su calls her and warns her not to look inside until he gets there. Back with Woojin, Dae-su desperately begs him not to tell Mido the truth. He kneels and even barks like a dog to show he's completely broken. Finally, he cuts off his own tongue as a sign of submission. Woojin relents and tells Mr. Park not to open the box. He leaves Dae-su with what looks like the pacemaker remote. When Dae-su presses it, instead of stopping Woojin's heart, it plays an audio recording of him and Mido doing the naughty father-daughter stuff. As Woojin rides the elevator down, he remembers Sua's death. He had tried to stop her from falling, but she told him to let her go. When the elevator reaches the ground floor, Woojin shoots himself. Later, Dae-su moves to a quiet place in the countryside. He writes a letter to the hypnotist explaining everything and asking for help. She says she wasn't planning to help at first, but the last line of his letter changed her mind. In it, Dae-su writes, "Even though I'm no more than a beast, don't I have the right to live?" The hypnotist warns that the process might go wrong and mess up his memory. Dae-su agrees anyway. She performs the hypnosis, telling him his mind will split into two personalities, one that won't know the truth about Mido, and another, the monster, who will hold the secret. Later, Dae-su wakes up alone in the snow. Mido arrives, hugs him, and tries to warm him up. She tells him she loves him. Dae-su smiles at her words, but the smile slowly turns into an expression of sadness as they embrace.